Dr. Leo Rastogi, welcome to Cyprus. Welcome to Boussias Cyprus podcast.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure.
It's our honor and pleasure having you here. From where I start, we're having Leo Rastogi as author, as meditation teacher, as leadership mentor, spiritual scientist, serial entrepreneur. Wow, all these things. We're going to have the chance later on to elaborate on this. But let's say a few words about your background. You live in Houston right now, and originally from India. So could you
That's
tell
right.
us a few things about your childhood, how you made it from India to the US?
Yes, certainly. And first of all, thank you very much, Harris, for hosting me on this podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you, and thank you for the opportunity and a very generous introduction. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I was born in India, and I grew up in a very small town. I was born in a family of teachers. My father was a professor of history, and my mother was a professor of political science. So I grew up in a very academic environment,
Yeah.
but in the middle of discussion about world history and ideas. And that have really shaped and defined my attitude towards life. And uh, I, I left India when I was approximately 18. What brought me to first to the UK and then to the United States was pursuit of my education. And I always say you can take an Indian out of India, but you cannot take India out of an Indian. So, growing up in India, I grew up in a land of traditions, land of plurality. We have so many religions, so many languages, 5,000 official languages. Every major religion of the world lives in harmony in the country. So that gave me a lot of curiosity about wanting to learn about cultures and religions and different worldviews and philosophy, and also a sense of intimacy with different people, different backgrounds of people, and that really I felt like being an Indian gave me a good foundation to be a world citizen, being able to find closeness and acceptance of a very diversity of faiths. I had a traditional upbringing,
Yeah.
went to school, Asian parents, worked hard in school, had a lot of fun as well. And then, yeah, I studied computer science, neuroscience, and business, and yeah, started my
Yeah.
entrepreneurial career.
Wow. Yeah, we'll get back to your education a bit later. But before that, I know from some um, public posts that you are so kind to share with us that during your childhood, the age of 12 years old, you had a near to death experience that changed your life. Can you tell us a bit
Indeed.
more about this experience?
Yes, absolutely. You have done your research.
Yeah, of
You have
course.
done your research. Yes, I was 12 years and few months old, and I was playing cricket. It's a game that's like a religion in India. It
Yes.
has a ball and a
Very
bat.
popular there. Yeah.
Very, very popular game. And I was hit by a ball, and I fainted. And in that moment, I had this very transcendent experience that I could see myself outside the body, and I could see my body on the playing field, and I could observe it. And I mean, I did not, as a 12-year-old, I did not have the terminology of near death experience. So I thought, wow, this is so cool. There is me and there's my body. Wow, this is fantastic. And then I saw my friends running to get my mom. My mom arrived. My dad arrived, and she was very worried. My mother was crying. My dad was worried, and then they took me to the doctor. And I observed all of this outside my body. All of that was happening as if I was like a camera looking at the
Yeah.
scene. And then I remember the doctor checking my pulse and my parents. And then the first feeling was, wow, this is cool. I can see myself from outside. And then I felt a little sad because I saw my mother crying and my father very distressed. And then immediately, as the doctor was working on my body and reviving, like there was like just a flash, and then boom, I was back inside the
Oh,
body, looking out, and everything was back to normal. It took me several years to realize that such an experience is called a near-death experience. As a 12-year-old, you're not afraid of death. You
Yeah.
don't have that fear. So my whole point was, this is so cool that I have this experience. But I took one lesson from it, which I think really shaped my life, that I am not my body. I have a body. So I became very curious. Who was that part of me that was outside the body looking at the whole situation? And I became super curious about it. And then I began to explore it through different lenses, through the lens of science, through the lens of quantum physics, through the lens of meditation and spirituality. And in some ways, it was a defining moment where um, the conventional boundary for me of who I am as like this physical body was like eliminated. Uh, and it led me to not only study different systems of spirituality, philosophy, religion, but also hardcore neuroscience
Yeah.
and quantum physics, etc. Seeking to find answers to that curiosity, to contextualize my experience. And looking back at it, it's been so many years now, more than 3 decades. I'm super grateful that
Yeah.
I had that experience. I mean, it took away my fear of death. It gave me a lifelong curiosity about human consciousness and the nature of human experience, and like a certain degree of openness to experience that cannot be logically understood. And I've been
Yeah.
fortunate enough that throughout my life I had multiple such experiences, not as dramatic,
Yeah.
but very enriching.
Wow. Now I can understand that how, as you said, it was indeed a defining moment for everything
Yes.
else that
Definitely.
you have done in your life, and that explains a lot, of course, at least to me. Um, so when you finished the school, um, you had the honor to have two academics as parents.
Yes,
So
definitely.
I understand that
Yeah.
there was a lot of, let's say, encouragement for
Yeah.
you to study, to educate yourself, to travel,
Yes.
all right, and learn about other countries, civilizations, cultures. So tell us a bit about your studies. You chose to do a combination of health, neuroscience, you mentioned before, and some business in top universities, as far as I know. So tell us a bit about this academic journey.
Of course, so growing up with two academic parents is a blessing in the way that
Yeah.
your whole life is, I mean, education at the center. It's very valued. I think I will, more than education per se, I think it was the spirit of inquiry and the spirit of learning that my parents really encouraged. Our home was full of books, and since both of my parents were professors, I had unlimited access to their libraries. And my parents would not always be excited about buying me toys or sports things, but every time I wanted to buy books, like literally a blank check, right? So,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed reading, I enjoyed learning. So, why I'm sharing this with you is to essentially to underline that education is not just what you study in school, but as I've looked back, I'm grateful for my conventional education, but a lot of what I learned, not in an academic setting, has been my greatest companion and my go-to for life. But at the same time, being a child of academics, it also meant like it was a very
Yeah.
strict,
Discipline.
very disciplined, strict, performance and achievement-driven environment. So I did a lot of, you know, mathematics Olympiad and debate contests and quiz contests, etc.
Mathematics Olympia?
Yes, I
Yeah.
represented
India?
Yes, and stuff like that, and in multiple platforms actually. Um, but eventually, I decided that I had to pursue conventional education, so I chose what I was really good at that time was computer science, and that really led me to appreciate the overlap of the interaction between technology and human consciousness, right? So one of my area of research, by the way, was human consciousness information systems. So like being able to model human consciousness using technology and to understand how it functions, it was a very early exploration that I did. So I studied computer science, an undergrad degree, and I studied business as well, because I was very intrigued by how might you take an idea and build an institution and make an impact and a monetizable opportunity around it. So that brought me to study business. I have been an entrepreneur for most of my life. So while I was still studying, I was already running my business. Second year of college, I started my first company. When I exited it, that's when I went to business school. And I felt that while business was great, the quest to take a scientific lens and understand human nature never went away.
Yeah.
So you might find it very curious that it's after going to business school that I came back. So I mean, after Howard Business School, I came back to King's College to study neuroscience, and I realized that being a little bit older and having had more experience in life by that time, neuroscience really helped me understand the mechanism through which we experience consciousness, the mechanism through which we experience life. And then obviously, when I got my doctorate, and so on the whole, I'm very grateful that my teachers at Oxford, Harvard, and King's College were some of the best teachers that I have come across, and Stanford, of course, where I got my doctorate, have been truly instrumental in shaping not only my skills, but also my ability to inquire. I remember my doctoral supervisor saying to me that doctorate is a process in which we both will learn more about this subject. So that spirit of inquiry, that you don't learn from me, we learn together. And he was very funny. He said, in the end, one of us will be a bigger expert than the other, and it not necessarily will not be me. So I learned that humility of a teacher. So my academics have spread across technology, neuroscience, business, the intersection of philosophy, psychology, and technology. That has been my journey.
Yeah, all these are really amazing, and this explains to me now that already from the childhood, then during your academic learning process, your objective gradually has turned out to be not just getting simple knowledge of things, but the way to experience and get a more holistic view of things.
Definitely.
And this is even more interesting when it comes to business. Now, you mentioned Harvard, Oxford, King's, top universities, and you got the academic education, getting academic education from such top universities. Definitely, it is an added value on what you get and what you try later on to apply in your career. But I also know that there is another interesting part in this educational process, and I'm speaking about religions and philosophy.
Yes.
And for most of the people, it looks surprising how someone who made it into these top schools, learning about business, neuroscience, suddenly decides also to add another aspect, such as religion and philosophy. And not only learn about this, but to experience religions, and not only from books, but by having also a monastery life.
Yes, definitely.
So I'm very curious to learn about how you ended up living as a monk in a Buddhist temple, and also in Meteora in Greece, and how this came up for you, and what was actually the reason why you chose to do this.
Most certainly. By the way, I forgot to mention, you and I have that in common. We both have our master's and doctorate from UK.
Yes, yes.
Because you are also Dr. Chari Savvide. Let me take a step back. Like, why the curiosity, right? So growing up in India, I had a very interesting experience that all religions live in harmony, right? So my school teacher, who introduced me to the science of meditation, like curiosity, from a point of view of curiosity, was a Hindu. My class teacher was a Protestant Christian. My best friend was a Muslim, and we lived in a community which had a lot of Sikh population. So for me, it was like different religions with different shades of faith. So I did not see them necessarily as what separates people. So growing up in India, it was like, today is a Muslim holiday. Great, we get to celebrate this. And now today is Eid, tomorrow is Christmas, today is, Diwali. So it was like everybody celebrated everything. My mother is a Jain, my dad is a Hindu, and they sent me to a Christian school. So imagine that. So India gives you this unique perspective that we can have different faith and yet find that common context of being part of the same society, sharing the same values of compassion, of acceptance, of tolerance, of caring for the others, etc. Value that are universal, right? So for me, I was always curious. First question was, why does humanity need to believe anything? It doesn't matter what you believe in, but why is there a need to believe? And how did the concept of God arise? Uh, and what is the history of this concept? So that was like really one philosophical thread I tugged at, which led to my study of. See, and philosophy and religion are two distinct lenses. Religion has a dogma boundary, which gives you fixed answers, and that helps you understand how society is organized. Because religions, for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, have really shaped the society the way it is. Philosophy, on the other hand, teaches you to ask a question, to receive an insight that may be uniquely yours. There are no fixed answer. And in philosophy, getting to an answer is not the pursuit. It's about unfolding and expanding your understanding. I mean, we are recording this in Cyprus, so I can say the Socratic method of inquiry, of find what Socrates said, all the answers are within you. You just have to discover them. So I find them quite complementary, not really at conflict with each other. And so that really made me curious. And right from the age of after my near-death experience, I began in earnest to study both the science of consciousness and what philosophy and religion say about consciousness. So that led me to study. Obviously, I was growing up in India, so I studied the Hindu philosophy, different styles of meditation, very, very rich system. In the Hinduism is not really a religion, it's a way of life, it's a philosophy, so it's a very philosophical faith, per se, if I may say so. And then I was more curious to understand other worldviews. So, yes, I lived as a Buddhist monk, you have that fact right. Um, First and foremost, I give credit to my father that he was a specialist in Buddhism. So, as a professor of history, his doctorate was on Buddhism. So, that is how I was initially introduced. And then it was the teachings of Buddhism that centered around freedom from suffering of human life. That really intrigued me.
Yeah.
And as I learned about monastic path, I understood that that's an experience where you don't have your name, you don't have your credit card, you like literally give up everything that defines you. Oh, I am a CEO, I'm an engineer, I'm a son, I'm a husband. You give all of that up, even the clothes up, and then you live in a life where you really live with yourself. And that experience I was very curious about. And I believe that I always believed that a scholastic understanding, like when you study something as a scholar, is mental in nature. You have a lot of knowledge. But a lived understanding is completely different. So I say it's like you read a book about swimming. You can learn all the rules of swimming. When you are thrown in the water, I'm not sure you will survive unless you have practiced in the water. Or to draw another example, reading books about parenting does not make you a good parent. Reading a book about flying planes does not mean you're a great pilot. So I wanted to have an immersion experience, and I'd already had a successful corporate career at that point. You know, I was a CEO at 22 years of age. Now I'm very grateful for that experience. But I said, this is the material world. Let me see what it's like at the other extreme, and what might it educate me in the worldview. And I had some amazing insights living as a monk, where you literally beg for food and
Yeah.
and you live without physical possessions. And I realized that um, what truly shapes you eventually is your capacity to nurture positive emotions, clarity of thought, sense of vitality, and a sense of meaning and purpose, and a sense of connection. It's not defined by all the material things you have. And make no mistake, I'm an entrepreneur, so I believe in the capitalist world. But there is a sense of inner peace and connection and fulfillment and lasting joy that you find not in material things, but in pursuit of that connection. And there are many paths. So I also trained as a Sufi dervish. Of course, Meteora was an amazing experience, and to be so secluded and to spend time with the monks who so generously shared their life and shared their learning with me helped me understand that it doesn't matter the religion per se. There are some common foundations. First is surrender. That means you let go of your ego. Who you are does not matter. You surrender your ego and allow for the wisdom to be channeled through you, for insight to arise. They can use different words for it, the Holy Spirit or the Brahman, but the principle of surrender is very important. Principle of service. You do everything with a heart of service. You do it for the benefit of others, to make a contribution. That's common to all religions. Third is having a sense of balance, nothing in excess. By the way, since you mentioned Greece, at the temple following Delphi, there are two things written. Man, know thyself, which is what I said about finding that inner connection, inner peace. The second line is written is nothing in excess. Oh. So this teaching is actually years old. So you learn that in all systems of faith about having the difference between your needs and wants. Mm-hmm. As long as your needs are met, you can use your time and your attention and the space to truly discover what it means to be alive, instead of chasing, I want this, I want that, or I like this, I like that. And finally, the fourth and most is that ultimately you may have different dogmas of each religion. Ultimately, your relationship with whatever you might call God or the One or Yahweh or whatever you call the Supreme Being or the Creator, depending on which lens you use, it's a personal relationship. No two people will ever have the same relationship. So these four foundations I found across all religions. Monastic experiences helped me widen my lens, just not be a scholar, but not be a scholar. So I always say there's a scholar, there's a practitioner, and there's the embodiment. So monastic life, you embody the faith. As a follower of a religion, you practice the faith. As a student of religion, you develop scholastic understanding. Yeah. So for me, all three were important, and they have really shaped me. I think, in fact, my first book I wrote was Many Paths, Many Truths, Journey Through World Religion, that have shaped the 21st century humanity, to try to bring a lens of curiosity into how much we can learn from the wisdom of all the different faiths that exist. I don't think I would be who I am today if I did not have those monastic experiences. That being able to feel grounded in a board meeting, in a research lab, and while meditating at Asclepius' sanctuary in Epidaurus, I feel at home, and I'm very grateful that life gave me this opportunity.